You've seen thousands of birds in your life, in your yard, at the park, on the sidewalk, in the trees outside your window, and yet, you've probably never seen a dead one. Not lying in the grass, not on a branch, not anywhere. Where are they? Welcome to Bird Sense. I've thought about this question for longer than I'd like to admit, because once it occurs to you, you can't stop noticing the absence. If you're new here, subscribe before you leave, because what you're about to learn will change the way you walk through your own neighborhood forever. Today, we're going into one of the most commonly asked questions in ornithology: why you almost never see a dead bird, what actually happens in the final hours of a bird's life, and where the bodies go. Stay until the end, because the last thing we cover involves a behavior that researchers have only recently documented, and it suggests that some bird species may have something that looks remarkably close to awareness of death. Let's start with the numbers, because the size of this mystery is bigger than most people grasp. North America is home to roughly 7.5 billion landbirds at any given time. According to a 2019 study published in the journal Science, the annual mortality rate for adult songbirds averages between 40 and 60%, depending on the species. That means that in any given year, somewhere between 3 and 4.5 billion birds die in North America alone. To 4.5 billion. If even a fraction of those bodies remained visible for more than a few hours, you would see dead birds constantly in your yard, on your street, in every park, on every trail, and yet you don't. For every northern cardinal at your feeder this morning, statistically, half of its siblings from last year's brood are already dead. You've been living beside this your entire life, and you've never seen it. So what is happening to them? The answer has several parts, and each one is more specific and stranger than most people expect. When a bird is sick, injured, or entering the final stages of life, its behavior changes in very specific ways. Research on avian behavior during terminal illness shows that sick birds become lethargic, disoriented, and, most importantly, they seek cover. A healthy bird operates in open spaces where it can see predators and escape quickly. A bird that knows, in whatever way birds know things, that it is compromised, retreats to the densest cover it can find. Thick underbrush, the interior of a shrub, dense ground vegetation, the base of a hedge along a suburban fence, and the place it hides to avoid predators in its final hours, is the same place that conceals its body after death. This is why you rarely see dead birds in the open. They are not dying in the open. They are dying in the places you don't look, the undergrowth and dense vegetation that you walk past every single day without a second glance. If you were to push aside the branches at the base of every overgrown shrub in your neighborhood, you would find more dead birds than you expect. But you don't do that. No one does. And so the bodies remain hidden, not because they've been removed, but because they were never visible to begin with. This is the first thing to understand. The birds aren't disappearing after death. They are dying in places specifically designed by millions of years of evolution to be invisible to you, even in places where birds do die in the open, on lawns, driveways, sidewalks. The bodies disappear fast. Research on suburban bird mortality in the United States shows that the average time a small bird carcass remains visible is between 30 minutes and 4 hours. 30 minutes to 4 hours. If the bird dies overnight, the body is often gone by the time you wake up. The scavengers removing these birds are not what most people picture. You're not looking for vultures. You're looking at the animals already in your yard every night. Ants, beetles, and flies begin working on a carcass within minutes of death. Under the right conditions, soft tissue disappears within hours. It happens silently, invisibly, while you sleep. But the faster removal comes from animals most Americans don't think of as scavengers at all. Domestic cats, estimated to remove between 1.3 and 4 billion birds annually in the United States, scavenge as readily as they hunt. A dead bird on your lawn at 3 a.m. is an easy meal. You wake up, it's gone. You never knew it was there. Raccoons, opossums, crows, and blue jays are all opportunistic scavengers, operating in American suburbs every single night. The efficiency of this network is so high that researchers studying bird mortality have to check locations multiple times per day just to document deaths before the evidence disappears. You are surrounded by one of the most effective biological cleanup systems on Earth, and it runs almost entirely while you sleep. Some birds don't leave bodies because they are consumed before they can. A sharp-shinned hawk takes a chickadee mid-flight. There is no body on the ground. The hawk carries it to a perch, consumes it, and drops the bones and feathers somewhere you'll never walk. A Cooper's hawk takes a mourning dove at your feeder. You see an explosion of feathers. By the time you go outside, the hawk is gone, and so is the dove. Within an hour, the feathers blow away or get picked up by other birds for nesting material. The entire event erases itself. The evidence of death disappears almost as fast as the death itself happened. Owls are even more efficient. A great horned owl hunting at night takes a sleeping bird from a roosting site in complete darkness. The body is consumed miles from where you would ever look. The only evidence is a small pellet under a distant tree that you walk past without noticing. So when you combine these factors, concealment by the dying bird, rapid scavenging, and predation that leaves no remains, the statistical probability that you will encounter a dead bird drops dramatically. You don't see them, not because they aren't dying, but because every ecological process that follows death is optimized to remove the evidence quickly. Now, let's talk about the part of this that gets uncomfortable: whether birds have awareness of death. For a long time, ornithologists assumed birds don't have a concept of death, that they lack the cognitive architecture to understand mortality. But research over the past 15 years has begun to complicate that assumption. In 2015, researchers at the University of Washington documented something unexpected. When crows encountered a dead crow, they didn't ignore it. They gathered. Multiple crows would arrive, sometimes dozens, call loudly, circle the body, land near it, and remain for 15 to 20 minutes or longer. But what made this even more striking was what happened afterward. Those crows avoided that location for weeks, even though it was in their territory, even though food was available there. The presence of a dead crow had marked that location as dangerous. They had learned something from the death. They had updated their understanding of that space. Magpies have been observed bringing grass and covering the bodies of dead magpies, a behavior with no obvious survival function that looks, to human observers, like something closer to mourning. Western scrub jays, common across the western United States, stop caching food and increase alarm calling when a dead jay is nearby. Whether these behaviors should be called funerals or grief, researchers are careful about. The terms carry human weight that may not apply. But what is not in question is that these birds are doing something. They are not ignoring death. They are responding to it in ways that are consistent, socially coordinated, and behaviorally complex. For most songbirds, the evidence is thinner. There are accounts of northern cardinals or American robins remaining near a dead mate for hours, calling repeatedly, returning again and again. Whether this is grief or confusion, science hasn't fully answered yet, but the question is being asked now in ways it wasn't before. And the answers, when they come, may change how we think about every bird that visits our yards. Here is what you should take from all of this. The absence of dead birds in your daily experience is not an accident. It is the result of overlapping evolutionary strategies: predator avoidance that drives dying birds into concealment, scavenger efficiency that removes exposed carcasses within hours, and predation that consumes birds before bodies can appear. They disappear not because of mystery, but because of ecology. And yet, for some species, There may be something more happening, a recognition, a response, a behavior that suggests death is not just processed as absence, but as presence, the presence of something that other birds notice, gather around. And remember, the next time I walk past the overgrown shrubs at the edge of my yard, I think about what might be in there, what the yard is holding that I'll never see. The next time your yard goes quiet, in a way that feels different, you'll know there are things happening just out of your sight that you were never meant to witness. Tell me in the comments, have you ever found a dead bird? Where was it? What species? How long do you think it had been there? I read every one. I'll see you in the next one.